Welcome to episode 826 of Salsido Paranormal. I'm your host, James Salsido, and tonight I am sharing experiences, true paranormal stories from the web. As always, you can find all episodes of the show, along with links to social media, ways to listen, and ways to support the show at the website, and that is salsidoparanormal.com. That's SALSIDO paranormal.com. You can support the show in a few different ways. You can always, of course, share the show with others and rate and review it on your favorite podcast platforms. I used to say that, and I keep forgetting now. But also, you can sign up for the Patreon page and get extra content there. Or you can check out the merchandise store, and both of those can be found on the website. If you want to support the show. Support is never expected, but always appreciated, as there are always expenses in making these shows. Funny enough, I was just talking before the show started here. I have a new chair that I have to get put together, and I'm glad I got it, but it's definitely an expense that is necessary for the show, because I'm here a lot. So anyway, just funny how things you don't always think about as being associated with other things. They kind of are. But so yeah, I'm glad to get back to these experiences shows. These are, other than having guests and to talk about their own experiences or talk about different topics, as far as my solo shows go, these are my favorite shows to do. And it's because there's always something new to read about, and that's what I like to share. So, but yeah, thank you all for being here and listening in. And let me get to the first of these stories here. So, we have this first one. It says, back in the early 2000s, I worked in an old working men's bar, mainly in the function room. We used to put on rock nights, host weddings, and occasionally have biker meetups, which tended to get a bit messy, often requiring us to order extra alcohol. One night after a function, I can't quite remember what it was, I had pulled the shutters down on the front of the bar and started mopping the floors behind it. The function room had a stage in, let me see here, lost my spot, in the corner. There we go. While mopping, I glanced up toward the stage and saw what looked like the shadow of a man standing there. It didn't register at first. I looked right back down and kept mopping. Then it hit me. There's a man on the stage. I looked back up, but there was nothing there. I was still a bit confused about what I had just seen. The woman I worked with came back into the room and asked if I was okay. Yep, I'm fine, I replied. Without hesitation, she asked, have you seen anything? I hesitated, then said, maybe. Her reply still gives me goosebumps to this day. Wasn't a man? I see him all the time. I almost quit that evening, but I never saw anything there again. And that's an amazing one. Restaurants, even especially I think bars, there's just so much energy there going on, all kinds of emotions and all kinds of people coming and going. Doesn't surprise me that there was a apparition there. There's back when I used to do a paranormal news show kind of thing, which was fun for a time, but I kind of got tired of it. But one of the most common things I found, as far as articles about recent activity, were articles about bars, especially over in the UK, pubs that were said to be haunted, that had activity in them. And it was just, I would find these articles about these places at least once a week. And so there is something to that. The nature of, I guess, a place like that where you're going there to get together with people, or you're going there to basically take a mind-altering substance in a way. That's not being. I don't mean that as shade against alcohol itself or against anyone. Just the fact that if you drink enough of it, things are going to seem a little bit different. And so I can imagine those being hotspots for activity, especially if it's any kind of being, whether it's human or not, that takes in energy to stay in this level of reality. That would be a good place to do it. And that's not even counting people who had a lot of good memories in places like that. That may have been stuck, that may have decided to visit there. Who knows how often? So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that there was that kind of activity there, and it's amazing that the writer there had confirmation without saying what they had seen. Someone else said it for them, which is always really amazing as well, to get that kind of verification as well. So, but yeah, so I've been to a couple restaurants and bars over the years here and there where it felt like there was something different about it, and never anything bad, nothing ever happened that was obviously paranormal. It's just more like, I guess, sometimes I can pick up on energy in places, and I've been to a couple over the last, 20 years or so. For those that don't know me so well, I have a family that has had a couple of different bands over the years, and I've gone to hear them play at different places, and because I'm 43 now, so I've been able to go to bars and restaurants, bars and stuff like that for a good 20 plus years now. So, and yeah, some of them, yeah, they feel different than others. So it's definitely a thing. But yeah, so also I see everyone there in chat. Thank you for being here. And yeah, so let's get on to the next one here. This one says, it all happened when I was 14 years old in Quebec, Canada. I come from a blended family, and the strange events began when my father and stepmother decided to move in together into a new house. Not believing in life after death, this series of events made me reconsider my beliefs. The first event happened around the holidays. We had set up a toy train on a track under the Christmas tree. One night, the train suddenly started running on its own. We all figured it must have been some kind of malfunction. Okay, there we go. The second event happened in my bedroom, which I should mention was on the second floor. So there was no way to reach the window from outside without a ladder. Once again, during the night, I got up to get a glass of water. When I returned to bed, someone knocked on my bedroom window 3 times. I nervously pulled back the curtains, but there was nothing there. The last event took place while I was looking for something in our shed, which was full of things. I was at the very back of the room when suddenly I heard someone breathing heavily right behind my ear. I turned around quickly, but again, nothing. You might say this was all just a product of my imagination, but the day after we moved out of that house, several pipe leaks occurred inside the walls, causing major damage to the home. This is the first time I've ever shared my experience. And since then, I believe in ghosts. And that's where that one ends. That's three fairly major events, at least to have happened to somebody, and across time. And I really wonder about the leaks in the pipes, because I feel like that could be something that could be caused by the state of the pipes in the house to begin with. But obviously I'm not a plumber, so I don't know. But it's amazing to think about that. The idea of unseen forces being able to affect non-physical forces, non-physical beings, at least as far as the current state that they're in, being able to have physical effects on this world to the point where they can pretty much damage or ruin a house. The opposite of that, of course, with the water would be with fire. I've heard of rare cases of that as well. But yeah, so I don't know. But that sounds like a lot going on, and not just inside the house, but on the property. Now, with the sounds, with the breath and everything, even possibly with the, I don't know, the knock is maybe harder to write off as being residual, but the breath seems like it could be something residual, but it's hard to say. The train, I don't know, if it never did that before or after, if it never started on its own, then that's also kind of hard to write off in a way. But also possible it still could be a malfunction, but it's always weird when that happens. Anyway, so I don't know. Seems like there's a lot that could be there. But again, I don't claim to know anything for sure. And I don't like to doubt when people say they have experiences, because there could be other things. They could get weird feelings when these things are happening that they can't easily describe, and that may validate what they're going through. So I don't like to say that I don't think that these things happen to people, because I don't think that's right. It'd be like I'd have to be okay with people saying that same thing about my own experiences. I've had so many experiences that I have a hard time with the idea that it was all just my mind or imagination or whatever. There's just too many, and some with other witnesses as well. So anyway, let's get to this next one here. This one says, my grandpa had just passed away, and we moved. I was 5. I had just gotten out of the bathroom, turned around, and saw an adult-sized transparent silhouette with no hands or feet. It walked through the bathroom door and made a stride over to my grandma and reached out. I froze and screamed. It looked at me, but it didn't have any eyes or a mouth, just lights where they would be. Then it was gone. My grandma went to a psychic shortly after, and he said she had too many spirits around here. Shortly after, a clock that was broken and missing gears would chime at random times. I don't believe in ghosts, and I don't know what I saw. Creepy, though. And that's where that one ends. That's kind of a lot of little things that are going on. The clock and everything, especially when it's a mechanical clock and it's not even powered by anything. That's pretty amazing that it was still able to, something was physically affecting it enough to make it chime. I wonder if that was the grandpa, and the writer just didn't notice it, or not notice, just didn't realize that's who it was. I think that's possible, and it's not to say though that it for sure was. It's just that it's possible. But yeah, that sounds like a lot going on there, and it's ironic that the psychic mentioned this. There's too many spirits around you, and then there's things happening. Of course, everyone has their own views on psychics. I do think there are plenty out there that are real, but there's also plenty out there and that are not so much. So take that as you will when it comes to any kind of anything that we share on the show that is from psychics. That's as far as personal experiences that I read. But let's get to this next one here. These are all moving pretty fast today. Of course, as I say that, I find a long one, so that's all right. This one says, so for context, I am in an old house, dog sitting for a family friend. The establishment of the neighborhood was in 1837. Last night, around 11 p.m., I walked out to the garage and saw from the nose up a pair of eyes staring back at me. I ducked down, thinking this was a person. I'm a 20-year-old girl here, alone. I didn't want them to see me. I peeked back up and saw it was still standing there, unbothered, no blinking, just wide eyes staring ahead. I ran inside and locked all the doors and ended up calling the police. The police came and inspected the area. They said no evidence was found that anyone was there. I messaged the homeowners and asked them to check the camera footage. They saw no person standing there. I went back out with the officers, and they asked if it could have been a reflection of some sort, but I saw it so clearly, and I still see it every time I close my eyes. I retraced my footsteps and didn't see anything in that window anymore. I know I saw eyes staring soullessly into the garage, not once, but twice. And then police came, and it was gone. I've also just had a super eerie and uneasy feeling being here all week, like I wasn't alone. I sleep in the basement and I hear moving and footsteps upstairs every night. Thoughts? I'm spooked, and after the cameras showed nobody standing there, I'm convinced it was a ghost. That's where that one ends. There's a lot there in terms of it's not just the one event. And I get that. I understand that feeling of feeling like if I can talk, feeling like there's someone else or more than someone else there. There's this house that I used to live in part-time with my dad and my stepmom. It's not in the family anymore now, but there was one time I was, 20, 21, 22, and I offered to stay in the house for a week while my family went on some kind of vacation somewhere. I forget now what it was. And so I did that, and during the day, it was fine. It's still a little bit weird, but still fine. But I noticed every day, every evening, as soon as it started to get dark, I got the sense of the house just filling up with people. Like people were coming home or something. And it was fine as long as I had some kind of sound playing. Some kind of music or TV show or video or whatever. But if I didn't have anything playing, it got to be really not heavy, not negative, just really intense. This feeling that there was more than just myself there, and it was not just one other. It was multiples. And even when I would be there, sort of, because the room that I stayed in when I was staying there, it was on the ground floor, and everyone else's rooms were upstairs. And when I'd leave the room to use the bathroom at night, I would also get that weird feeling like the whole downstairs was just full. And when I came out and to go use the bathroom, restroom, bathroom, whatever, it'd be like everyone noticed, oh, there's someone else here. And I go and do what I had to do and then go back in the bedroom. And so I get that feeling. This is not the first time I've heard of someone having an experience where they thought it was possibly not a ghost, not a spirit, not an apparition, not whatever else paranormal you want to call it, but a real physical living person in their space or in the space they were using or staying in, and ended up calling the police and finding nothing. I've every once in a while I come across an account like this because people aren't automatically thinking ghost, and so that's really amazing that they. I'm glad that it worked out where there wasn't anyone physical there, but yeah. So and also the fact that there was no evidence of anyone being there on the security footage is really amazing. Because if you look into enough of these accounts of experiences, sometimes people will see things, but then the camera won't. Other times, people won't see anything weird, won't have a weird experience, or they'll just get a weird feeling, but they won't see anything. And then later on, they'll check camera footage and they'll see something. How that works, why things appear and things don't appear sometimes on cameras is a whole other question that I have no answers to. But this is not the first time I've heard of that before. We only have a few minutes left here, and so I don't really want to try to read another story. I did that last week, and I went over on time. So I guess I could just share a couple other little things that happened in this house that I used to live in part-time. Just over the years while I was there, there was a few times where I heard whispering and laughing. It wasn't necessarily. It's hard to say. It was almost like what you hear in the movies, but there was no negative feeling from it. One time I heard it when everyone else was outside. They had gone somewhere. My dad was going to be back in a few minutes they were going to be back in a little bit to pick me up and take me back to my mom's place. But and I was getting everything packed up and ready to go. And because I'm legally blind, so I don't drive. So whenever I go anywhere, it's with family usually. But while I was in the dining room, living room area, I heard this whispering and laughing in the stairwell going up to the second floor. And it sounded like two or more girls just whispering and talking and laughing. And eventually it stopped, and as soon as it stopped, I heard the door open, and my family was back. And I thought that was pretty amazing, because to me, that shows the potential for some kind of awareness with whoever or whatever was there. And I heard that same sound a couple of times in that house as well. But that's all the time we have for this episode. Thank you all for listening, and I will talk to you all next time on Salsido Paranormal. Take care.